Hi there, this is Eshu. I'm the abbot here at Zenwest Buddhist Society. This Living Zen-podcast is just one of the many resources we've created at Zenwest to make Zen practice and training more available and accessible to people all over the world. Instructional videos, printable resources, and much, much more are also available on our website at www.zenwest.ca. If you're a regular listener, I'd love to hear from you. So please drop me an email at office@zenwest.ca and let me know who you are, how you got started, and what brought you to Zen. Everything we make available in person and online at Zenwest is only possible because of the support of our members and associates, people like you. If the efforts of our community are making a difference in your life, I'd like to invite you to show your support and take part in making it happen by becoming an associate or member of the Zenwest Sangha. You can do this by clicking the Join Us tab on our website at www.zenwest.ca. Thank you for your support, and thanks for listening. Please feel free to adjust your posture, make yourself comfortable while I'm speaking. Or not if you don't want to. If you're uncomfortable while I'm speaking, if I go on too long and you're a new sitter, please just adjust your posture to make yourself comfortable. But do so in a relatively direct fashion. Don't, take 10 minutes. Oh, God. Just to keep it as focused, quiet as possible for everybody else. It's always a real challenge for me to come to the Tuesday practice here. Not because it's hard or anything like that, not because physically challenging, but it's always difficult to strike a balance. Zen Buddhism is known, if not notorious, for being a relatively sort of harsh form of practice, strict discipline, sitting still and quiet. I was trained in a tradition which is sort of notorious among the notorious for this kind of rigorous discipline. And when I first started into practice, I was a relatively young man, and so that really, that form of strict practice really appealed to me at that time. And to this day, I really feel that there is a tremendous amount of benefit that is derived from giving rise to self-discipline in that environment, self-control, commitment. Our culture is really unfamiliar. Our society is very unfamiliar with the idea of this kind of collaborative endeavor in silence. If we think about it from the time that we're very young, how often are we in circumstances where we're encouraged to sit still without any movement for even 2 minutes? Let alone for 15 or 30 or 45 as we engage in Zen practice. And so this Tuesday evening sit is kind of it's a threshold, or it's a sort of a welcoming room in which we have to sort of find this balance between making this practice of Zen accessible, not overwhelming people with how disciplined it is, or how still we must sit, or how strict, straightforward our practice is. But also in that discipline, in that stillness, there is tremendous depth. There is a tremendous sense of immersion, or a sense of dissolution into something much bigger than ourselves that takes place when we commit to this disciplined practice. So for me, it's always a real challenge to walk that tightrope between wanting to be a welcoming, open, nice place to come and practice without what's called giving away the family jewels, just diluting it so much that it's just a sort of a beige meditation practice. There are a lot of places to practice now meditation. When I first came to Victoria, meditation wasn't such a common practice. I remember when I was first ordained, I would offer to do meditation workshops at people's places of work, healthcare and addiction services, and even government offices and sort of entrepreneurial businesses. And at that time, it was just completely unheard of. And it was really sort of taboo, kind of woo-woo. No one would ever consider having a meditation teacher come in and do meditation at a workplace. But over the years, it's come to the place where this is really common. Everybody's doing meditation. Even here at the university, the Buddhists were the ones that held the meditation. Nobody else really did it. It was kind of weird. But now, the Catholics are meditating, and the United Church is meditating, and the Anglicans everyone's meditating. There's lots of opportunities. But our practice isn't, what we really have to offer in Zen isn't just this real light, health, focused kind of relaxation meditation. From the beginning, Zen practice is focused at liberation from suffering. What the Buddha taught right from the beginning is, I teach only two things, suffering and the end of suffering. That is to say, in this practice, we investigate the nature and cause of our suffering. Not just the physical discomfort, but the very root of our fundamental dissatisfaction in all things. This practice is aimed at plunging to the bottom of things, clarifying the root source of the trouble, and liberating ourselves from that. We spend a tremendous amount of our life, a tremendous amount of our energy going around in circles, constantly pursuing things that we think will grant us lasting satisfaction and completion. It might be this job, or this relationship, or this object, or this amount of money. And when we have it, when we get there, when we accomplish it, we will be satisfied, we'll be complete, we'll be done, we'll be able to rest. Our other motivation tends to be that we already have something that's causing us difficulty, and if we can just be rid of it, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's an object. If we can just be rid of it, then we will be complete, and we'll be satisfied, we'll be whole, and we can rest. But isn't it the case that this has been the story we've told ourselves since we were tiny children? And isn't it the case that even if we are rid of that thing, or even if we accomplish that thing that we feel will give us completion, that satisfaction is a very superficial one. It's a very fleeting, temporary, impermanent satisfaction. Before even a few moments have passed, we're already on to the next thing that we need, that we want, or that we want to be rid of. Buddhism encourages us to ask the question, why? Why is this so? Why over and over do we buy the story that we sell ourselves that if we can just have that thing or be rid of that thing, we will be satisfied, happy, complete? Buddhism teaches us that already, in this moment, just as we are, already we are complete. Already we are satisfied. Already we are whole, but we don't realize it. We uphold this thing that we call a self, and we create a separation between inside and outside, and we believe it. We create distance between subject and object, and we believe it. This creation of self, this separation of inside and outside, is the very foundation stone of all of our suffering. When we grasp onto this idea of a self which stands alone, outside of all other things, separate from the rest of this vast cosmos, we create a world of wanting and wanting to be rid of. Buddhism teaches us that this concept, this perception of subject and object, is just a device. It's just a concoction. It's just a tool that the cosmos uses to investigate itself. But it does not reflect reality. The fundamental truth is that all things in this vast cosmos are one. One cosmos. One world. One moment. This is not news to anyone in the room, I don't think. This is something that our scientists are coming to the great conclusion. Everything's interconnected. Wonderful perspectives being given from astronauts who have been into outer space looking back at the planet, and they say, everything is interconnected. And this a man who sat under a tree 2,500 years ago said, everything is one. But these are just words. And it's really easy to say words. Most people, I think, in our culture, most people who participate in this kind of practice of meditation, most people, as we go through our lives, grasp this concept of us being related, being intimately involved with one another to some degree. We grasp the concept. And yet when we look at our behavior, when we look at the way that we go about living our lives, it's different. We don't live our lives as if we are truly intimately caught up with one another. We live our lives as if we really are separate objects. and that our actions don't impact one another. Zen practice is about leaping beyond this conceptual realm, getting out from underneath what we think we know about the world, the cosmos, this moment, the activity that manifests as everything that we see and feel and are. This practice asks us to melt, to dissolve, to shatter the idea of self and experience what it is to be one. And this isn't something that we need to add in, or something else, another object that we need to have. It's not something else that we need to chase, to grasp. Our idea of separation is not something that we have to expel and get rid of. This is just a continuation of our already deluded mind. Chogyam Trungpa, a teacher in the Tibetan tradition, called this spiritual materialism. Just taking the illness that we have about BMWs and our education and our money and our relationships and transposing it onto this practice where meditation becomes something we want to be good at. Enlightenment is something that we want to have, and delusion is something that we want to be rid of. I mean, if this is the way that we approach our practice, really, why bother? Drive a BMW instead. It's probably easier. Our practice is simply to wake up to our true nature. Already we are one. Already we are not separate from this activity. Already there is nowhere else for us to be, nothing else for us to do, but this, right here, the activity of unfolding as this moment. Not as a person in this moment. Not as an I amidst this world. It's not that the world exists there and I am in it. We are one. Simultaneously, I and this whole cosmos manifest together. Mutually interdependent, arising from a single source. Our practice is not about relaxation or lower blood pressure or better sleeping at night or more productive work habits. But breaking through the idea, breaking through the concept that we are separate from this cosmos, realizing it, experiencing it, knowing it in our bones, to the depths of our hearts, we are one. When this realization penetrates, when we wake up, then our conduct, our relationships, our livelihood, our perception of the world is transformed spontaneously. Our life begins to transform, to become harmonious with our realization, our perception, our experiential knowledge of this cosmos. No amount of understanding can get us there. It's only through this deep practice that we arrive at the experience, awakening. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen-podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.